Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload, we'll be talking about a potential blizzard, as you could tell by the title. This will be occurring towards the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. Today is Tuesday, election day in the United States. So we are still a bit away from that weekend, and there's still a lot of confidence to be determined. So a lot of details to be determined, in other words. And before we do get any further into this video, if you guys would like to subscribe to this channel, check out the other videos, check out the channel. If you like what you're seeing, consider doing so. And if you are a returning viewer, liking the video would be fantastic. Let's get into this without further ado. So let's start off by looking at the European model, the ECMWF, Euro Center of Medium Weather Forecasting. And let's take a look at the precipitation type and rate. So the thing is that this week looks absolutely gorgeous in terms of the election day weather. Really almost nothing going on, excluding the northwest, where a bit of rain and snow will be occurring across the northwestern United States and southwestern Canada. So quite a bit of activity. This precip may be actually falling pretty heavily, but thankfully it is limited. It's not widespread. A lot of it's still off on the ocean. But as we push into Wednesday, Thursday, we continue seeing this push a bit further inland, but it doesn't really intensify. It doesn't have the right conditions. However, with this classic La Nina pattern just pummeling the west with the precipitation, eventually the atmospheric conditions line up with the precipitation, and towards Thursday, you can see this is now early Thursday. This is around 2 o'clock in the morning. This is now 7 o'clock. 2 o'clock, you could see we start seeing rain and snow spread further inland into the Rockies of British Columbia and southwestern Alberta, as well as quite a bit of rain into the northwest. This will be, again, very warm. This country, I mean, Canada included, and much of the United States at this point, Thursday, Wednesday will be very warm, and it will continue to get warm across the east while the west begins to cool off. But eventually the cool air will make its way into the eastern United States. And notice that as we push this into time, we see relatively not much stuff going on. You may be saying, okay, where on earth is this blizzard? Well, sometimes these storms erupt out of seemingly nothing. So we have a small clipper up here. That's not the blizzard. This is just a piece of energy moving through Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and then eventually into Ontario, Canada. Quite a bit of snow with that. Nothing record-breaking, but 3 to 4 inches. Definitely not out of the question. And notice that we still see that precip floating around, if you will, across the west. And this is where things start getting active. Earlier on in the week, it was shown that around Saturday, it was already a bit further out into the plains. So the models have delayed this a bit, but still relatively the same time frame. And notice that we start seeing this low pressure develop right off the eastern flanks of the mountains of the Rockies. So that's usually a pretty bad sign. Storms often, when they come off the mountains already pretty strong, tend to develop even stronger. And notice this thing has a lot of precipitation. There's a fair amount of snow, fair amount of rain. Obviously, the valleys and lower elevations seeing the rain, and where the cooler air resides in the upper elevations and elevated areas, there will be quite a bit of snow. But this thing really starts to become impressive and earn its title, the Blizzard, really late Saturday into Sunday. So yes, we're still very far out. It's only Tuesday. The thing is, though, these models have been consistent, and day by day, they've been showing similar things among a whole wide variety of models from different family groups, and they've been consistently showing it, not changing it. So notice that by Sunday morning, this is up Sunday 7 o'clock in the morning, we don't have a blizzard yet. However, these winds are pretty powerful, and to be honest, it's sometimes hard to tell just based off the radar whether or not it will be a blizzard. But there are a few signs that could, a few indications that could help us. So notice at this point, it's a lot of snow developing across Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, into southwestern Canada. And you can see that the European, with this model run, takes this track right across the border of North Dakota and Minnesota as it enters into southern Canada. So large portions of Saskatchewan and especially Montana just getting clobbered by very heavy snow. And obviously where this heavy snow falls is going to be quite largely determined by the storm track. So if it moves a bit further to the east, into maybe western or eastern North Dakota, more of western North Dakota will be seeing the snow. But if it moves across western North Dakota, more of Montana will be seeing the snow. And notice that we could tell this would be most likely a blizzard, because for a blizzard, snow has to be falling. Snow has to be falling or on the ground. In this case, we have that. Visibility has to be reduced under a fourth, I think, of a mile for more than 3 hours. And again, it will be a bit tough to determine the visibility conditions under this. But I mean, you can see that little purple color. That's about as heavy as that snow gets. And that definitely is lasting more than 3 hours. This thing is a pretty long duration event, not a slow mover, but definitely not a quick one. And notice that we do have the winds, and that's really easily indicated by those packed isobars. You just have to have wind gusts or winds up to 35 miles per hour or greater, and that would be easily achieved here. So blizzard warnings definitely would be if you will, issued across these areas if this maintains itself. Notice quite a bit of ice as well. Thankfully, it's not long term, and a lot of it either transitions into rain or snow. So ice is definitely the worst. Snow is a bit worse than rain, but then rain is the best, and then obviously dry is the best. But in terms of precip, in my opinion, it goes from rain. In terms of danger, not necessarily what people like, but in terms of danger, it's rain, the least dangerous, then it's snow, and then it's sleet and ice and freezing rain. Notice this pushes into southern Canada, right, and a lot of Manitoba at this point, northern Manitoba, north central Manitoba, seeing large amounts of snow, possibly still blizzard conditions going on. We do see some wraparound showers into much of Montana, North Dakota, but the European model is not done. Notice that we could be looking at some lingering precipitation, showers, rain, and that gives way to another potential storm developing much further to the south across Minnesota, moving into Wisconsin. So Minneapolis, Duluth, larger cities of Sioux Falls, maybe seeing some pretty heavy snow out of that. Interesting to see what it does. And again, look at that, a lot of rain across the northeast and the east coast. However, this will be mainly falling as rain, as at this time still mainly warmer temperatures are present. But as these two storms push off, at least it seems two storms, there may be more, the cooler air does move in. If we were to look at the 2-meter temperature anomalies, just really quickly run this through, no timing, but you could see that originally the whole country is very warm, almost hot for November, and then we start seeing that push further and further towards the east. Look at that, that's very, very warm. We start seeing the cool air move in. At this point, we have that blizzard conditions occurring in above average locations in terms of temperatures. So this will be pretty marginally warm, probably just cold enough to see that snowfall. And notice though, once the storm really starts getting acted up, we see contrast of very, very warm and pretty darn chilly as well. And that gets pushed off into the east, and the cold air gets pushed into the central and eastern United States. And again, this isn't an Arctic outbreak by any means, but we go from, seeing this whole week in the 15 to 25 to 30 degrees above average to 4 to 5 degrees below average, which if you take that whole scale, that's around 40 degrees of a change, which is a lot. In terms of total snowfall, let's take a glance at what the European model shows. Again, this is just one model, and this one model changes itself. And even if it's confident in itself, there's different other models that are showing different things always, no matter how confident. There's always a difference. It's just how big of that difference there is. Notice a lot of snow where that first system occurs across the west. Again, this will take a long time to form, if you will, and as I mentioned, a lot of this northwest and southwestern Canada will be pummeled by heavy snow during this late weekend into the early weekend, first half of the weekend. But you could see most of Idaho possibly even seeing snow, 11-10 inches across the higher elevations, lower areas maybe 3 to 4 inches. And then where the snow really, really bums out, we could definitely be seeing a foot and a half with some isolated amounts here indicated up to 2 feet. With that second storm, the European obviously keeps things a bit less, but still for cities like Minneapolis, right on the border at this model, or this storm system has it. But again, it's more of just an interesting thing to see whether or not it will happen at all. The track, the track sometimes is uncertain 24 hours before the storm occurs, so it's just silly to look at it 10 days out before it occurs. But generally, it looks as if the snowfall amounts will be lighter. Still though, 10-11 inches, that's still quite a bit. So let's take a look now at what the other models are showing. Let's take a look at the Canadian. This is a Canadian model. It's different. I'll just go over the snowfall. You can see a bit of clipper activities across the northern portions of Canada. A pretty sharp cutoff as a lot of these locations. Again, it will be very warm. Just the west, the mountains will be cold enough to see that snow. And then we start seeing the cool air move in, more precipitation explode. You can see that the snow really starts cranking out, and the Canadian, again, pretty similar. It does include two tracks of two separate storms, one further across the northwest towards Montana and North Dakota, and the southwestern Canada and southern Canada, Saskatchewan, really seeing the brunt of this, it seems. And then you can see it also shows a track right here, a bit further to the south and east with this storm. Generally, actually remarkably similar, and to be honest, it doesn't, oftentimes we could be seeing, especially week out, where there's been scenarios where the European shows, say for example what it's showing now, and the Canadian shows one system and it's the one that's further out and completely ignores this one. So it's actually pretty good confidence in terms of rainfall for those that won't be seeing the snow, which will be a good portion of the forecast region. Lots of rain. This also does calculate in the snow, so where you see the snowfall, it converts it into rain. But notice that the eastern United States also seeing quite a bit of rain, and this will again fall as rain, not snow. It's just not cold enough for those areas to see snow at this time. And I know people were saying that, even the upstate, the Northeast usually sees snow in November. Sometimes there's patterns in January that cause rain across the Northeast, and sometimes there are patterns in October that cause rain or that cause snow across Chicago, and just a lot of unexpected events always happen with the weather. Take a look at the GFS model. Let's just go to Tropical Tidbits, as the newest one just came in, the 18Z model run. And let's refresh it. So notice again, very warm temperatures. That's indicated by this 540 line way up here. This is typical of mid to late May level temperatures. So just absolutely gorgeous. But as we push this forward towards the weekend, this is Saturday, Sunday, we could see a pretty large beast developing. This thing definitely blizzard conditions, lots of rain, lots of precipitation. And while you may be living across these locations thinking this won't impact you at all, you'll at least, across Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, will be seeing strong winds because we have a high pressure and a low pressure creating a pressure gradient that increases winds. So definitely that's at least one impact that will occur, but that first storm sets up a potential threat with that second system. You can see the GFS doesn't agree with the European or the Canadian, so right there, perfect example of disagreement. It does include a storm, but it develops a snowy side further to the north, and really not much snow at all across the actual United States, more across Canada, but not even into southern Canada. It stays really around James Bay, Hudson Bay, which is relatively far to the north. And notice a lot of precipitation floating around, ample enough cold air to produce snow, so you could see a bit of some snow events, nothing significant, but definitely keeps things active. You can see it includes another beast right there, and we'll just have to see what it does. You can see another system right there, possibly another one, so it looks very active. November usually is an active month, regardless of whether it's warm or cold. It's just whether it's warm or cold determines how much snow will fall versus how much rain. But oftentimes, not always, but usually in the past years, we've seen November being active. So just because of the amount of storms doesn't mean it's unusual, but it's definitely still considered active. Total snowfall accumulations, again, this is the GFS. It's been a bit weird with this. It's been showing it. Let me just see if I could edit this or show this with positive snow depth change. This still includes ice, unfortunately. People say that like it doesn't, but I've noticed that it still does. But notice, a lot of this stuff will be either rain or snow. Not much ice does occur across the west. If ice is usually a bigger threat across the eastern United States. Notice portions of Sierra Nevada definitely getting the first significant amounts, pushing into that white color range. So that's 48 inches. That's around 4 feet of snow. Quite significant. Here, Montana getting a good dose. The GFS also does put out quite a bit across these locations in Montana or Minnesota, North Dakota, but at a much different orientation than what I showed you with the GDPS, the Canadian. But a lot of snow for the northwest and just the west, even the southwest, which is just absolutely amazing news. These locations need that snowfall, and that's what I mean. See, a La Nina year typically means less snow for these locations, but sometimes all it takes is a few significant storms and, a whole month maybe above average just because of that one storm. And this is quite a bit of snow, nothing record-breaking, but definitely not considered a dry year or a dry pattern. This upcoming first half of November. Obviously, that could flip around 1,000 times, as winter is more than just the first half of November. As we could take a look at the GFS parallel, this one has been, yeah, it does. It's a little bit older than the rest of the models. These models have been updated around 2 o'clock Tuesday, the 3rd, while this one was around midnight of Tuesday, the 3rd. So, or yeah, midnight, or late Monday, Tuesday, or late Monday the 2nd. So regardless of that, let's just show it to you. Again, very warm conditions, so that's been consistent. That's good, right? And we do see that the GFS parallel takes it pretty far to the south. Good news, we want that rain. Generally pretty good agreement. Shows more snow across in North Dakota, South Dakota, and into portions a bit further south and east. Not by a huge margin, but a bit, that could make a big difference for cities like Bismarck and Rapid City. Shows a potential tropical disturbance, which could play a role into giving extra precipitation for these winter storms to feed into. I mean, you can see the GFS parallel does show a pretty large beast with the help of this tropical storm and or hurricane, whatever it may be. The GFS parallel is really the only model that does this in particular, but again, the other models, including the European and Canadian especially, did show a snowstorm, just not this strong. This pushes, I mean, it's hard to believe at 966 millibars of low pressure. That would be bad news, but again, very far out and only one model showing it, so the unconfidence is on our side. I mean, some people would like to see this, but really it looks cool on a weather map and stuff, but getting under that is just miserable. And then notice as we push into mid-November, around, this is very far out, right? But the point is that the pattern remains active. While this doesn't look too active, most other models still include precipitation. And the GFS parallel still includes bouts of precip, just not large storms. So in general, lots of activity, lots of things to watch for, and almost too much to cover in a 15-minute video, but hopefully got a scope of what's to come. Dry conditions, excluding for the west, maybe for this whole week, and then it starts getting more active and more wet into this weekend and early next week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.